Hello, I'm Todd Staples, president of the Texas Oil and Gas Association. We are pleased to report the industry's continued and unmatched economic impact, environmental progress, and the direct threats to the many contributions the oil and natural gas industry provides for Texas. As our nation continues its rebound from the lingering impact of the pandemic, this data confirms that reliable, affordable energy, fuels, and products made by the oil and natural gas industry are central to the continued economic and environmental progress. Despite an incredibly difficult 2 years, the Texas oil and natural gas industry contributed tremendously to state and local tax coffers, paying $15.8 billion in state and local taxes and state royalties in fiscal year 2021. This revenue from oil and natural gas production, pipelines, refineries, and LNG facilities translates to well over $43 million each and every day that pay for our schools, universities, roads, first responders, and essential services. Both state royalties and production taxes increased by more than 20% in fiscal year 2021, and production taxes exceeded $5 billion for only the third time in history. Since 2007, when TXOGA first started compiling this data, the Texas oil and natural gas industry has paid more than $178.7 billion in state and local taxes and state royalties, a figure that does not include the hundreds of billions of dollars in payroll for some of the highest paying jobs in the state, nor does it include the taxes paid on office buildings and personal property and the enormous economic ripple effect that benefits other sectors of our economy. More than 422,000 Texans have a job in the oil and natural gas industry, in addition to the 2.2 additional jobs created for every direct job in the industry. When direct and indirect impacts are considered, the Texas oil and gas industry supported $344.1 billion, nearly 22% of total private sector Texas gross state product in calendar year 2020. In FY 2021, Texas school districts received $1.84 billion in property taxes from mineral properties producing oil and natural gas, pipelines, and gas utilities. Midland ISD in West Texas ranked number one, receiving $134.9 million. Texas counties received $640 million in these property taxes we've been discussing. Reeves County ranked number one, receiving $47.4 million. In 2021, 98% of the state's oil and natural gas royalties were deposited into the Permanent School Fund and the Permanent University Fund, which support Texas public education. The Permanent School Fund received $1.1 billion, and the Permanent University Fund received $979 million. Oil and natural gas royalties are the only source of fresh investment capital to these massive education endowments and have been for a century. In fiscal year 2021, the Economic Stabilization Fund, or Rainy Day Fund, received over $1.1 billion from oil and natural gas production taxes. The Texas oil and natural gas industry is the funding source for the Rainy Day Fund, and the sum of all fund appropriations since its inception totals $18.2 billion. Without the direct funding from taxes paid by the Texas oil and natural gas industry, priority items such as teacher retirement, water planning and infrastructure, disaster recovery, and health and protective services would not have received billions in additional funding to meet these essential needs. In addition to its economic impact, unmatched investments in technology and innovation by this industry have positioned the United States as the global leader in energy and environmental progress. Methane emissions are down dramatically, even as oil and natural gas production increases. The industry has a stated goal of eliminating routine flaring by 2030, with some operators having achieved that goal already. According to the Railroad Commission of Texas, the statewide flaring rate in Texas fell to a record low level of 0.2% in October. Texas has one of the lowest flaring rates of large oil and gas producing states in the country. And it's because of initiatives like the Texas Methane and Flaring Coalition, an environmental partnership that have brought operators together with a shared mission to reduce flaring and methane emissions even further. The United States continues to lead the world in reducing carbon dioxide emissions, thanks to expanded use of natural gas in power generation. Policies that encourage responsible development of our natural resources, sharing of these resources with the world, and global environmental progress are proven and possible to coexist. However, all of this progress is under assault. We cannot sacrifice energy freedom for energy dependence. Squandering our nation's energy might through misguided policy is a disservice to every American and a step in the wrong direction on the environment. We need to be producing and exporting more natural gas, not less, to provide other nations with lower emissions intensive energy resources if the world is truly serious about climate progress. LNG, for example, is the answer to help our trade partners make environmental progress reliably using today's technology. The best way to ensure Americans and our trade partners have access to clean, affordable, and reliable energy is to encourage homegrown domestic energy, more LNG infrastructure, and more pipelines.